What if time itself was not a line, but a trap? Imagine living a life where yesterday refuses to stay behind. In fantasy literature, time is not just passing, it breathes. It bends, twists, and sometimes completely shatters reality. But what happens when characters begin to control it? That is where time travel enters the story, and everything changes in ways you never expect. Time travel is not just a plot device in fantasy. It is a doorway to deeper emotions and impossible choices. It challenges what characters believe about fate and freedom. It forces them to face consequences before they even happen. And sometimes, it makes them question their own existence. Think about a hero who knows their future failure. Would they still walk the same dangerous path? Or would fear rewrite their destiny completely? Fantasy uses time travel to explore these painful dilemmas. It transforms simple adventures into complex emotional journeys. Suddenly, every decision carries the weight of multiple timelines. A single action can destroy or save entire worlds. And the characters know it deeply inside. That pressure creates tension that keeps audiences hooked. You are not just watching events unfold anymore. You are questioning every moment alongside the character. Time travel allows writers to play with cause and effect. Events can happen before their reasons are revealed, or consequences can appear before the actions occur. This reversal creates a sense of mystery and curiosity. It makes the audience actively piece the story together. Fantasy worlds become puzzles waiting to be solved, and every piece feels important and connected. But time travel is not always a gift. Often, it is a burden that characters must carry. Knowing the future can feel like a curse, because not everything can be changed, even with power. Some events are fixed, no matter what you do. This creates a haunting sense of inevitability. Characters struggle between hope and helplessness constantly. They try to change outcomes, but reality resists them. And that resistance builds emotional intensity in the story. Fantasy thrives on these emotional conflicts and uncertainties. Time travel adds layers that normal storytelling cannot achieve. It expands the boundaries of imagination dramatically. Writers can explore alternate realities within the same narrative. Different versions of characters can exist simultaneously, and each version reflects a different choice or path. This allows deep exploration of identity and self. Who are you if your past changes completely? Are you still the same person or someone new? These questions make fantasy stories feel personal and relatable, even though the setting might be magical or unreal. Time travel bridges the gap between fantasy and human emotion. It connects the impossible with something deeply familiar. Regret, hope, fear, and second chances become central themes. Everyone has wished to change something in their past. Fantasy simply turns that wish into reality, but it also shows the consequences of that power. Changing one moment can break everything else. The ripple effect becomes impossible to control, and that is where the danger truly begins. Characters realize that time is not meant to be controlled, yet they continue trying, driven by emotion and desperation. That internal conflict keeps the audience emotionally invested. You start to feel their fear and hope simultaneously. You begin to question what you would do differently. Would you fix your mistakes if given the chance? Or would you accept them as part of your journey? Fantasy does not give easy answers to these questions. Instead, it makes you sit with the discomfort. And that is what makes these stories unforgettable. Time travel is not just about moving through moments. It is about confronting the meaning of those moments. It reveals the fragile nature of reality itself. and it reminds us how powerful our choices truly are. But this is only the surface of its role, because the real impact goes far deeper than you think. Now imagine a world where time travel is not rare. Instead, it becomes a tool used by powerful individuals, kings, sorcerers, and even ordinary people begin to access it. At first, it seems like the ultimate advantage. You can fix mistakes before they ever happen. You can gain knowledge others will never have. You can shape the future exactly how you want. But power like this never comes without consequences. Fantasy stories often show how quickly things spiral out. One small change creates a chain reaction of chaos. A saved life might lead to a destroyed kingdom. A prevented war might cause an even worse one. Time refuses to be rewritten without resistance, and that resistance always finds a way back. Writers use this idea to build intense narrative tension. Every decision feels dangerous and unpredictable. Characters are forced to think beyond immediate outcomes. They must consider the long-term consequences of every action. This creates a deeper level of storytelling complexity. It transforms simple plots into layered, interconnected events. Think about a character trying to save a loved one. They go back in time with pure intentions, but each attempt only makes things worse somehow. The outcome shifts, but never improves as expected. This cycle creates emotional exhaustion and desperation. The character begins to question their own actions. Are they helping or making everything worse? That uncertainty keeps the audience fully engaged. You start rooting for them, even when they fail, because their struggle feels painfully human and real. Fantasy also uses time travel to reveal hidden truths. Characters can witness events they were never meant to see. Secrets from the past come alive before their eyes. Betrayals, sacrifices, and forgotten histories are uncovered. This adds depth to the world and its characters. Nothing feels random or unexplained anymore. Everything connects across time in meaningful ways. The story becomes richer with each revelation, and the audience feels rewarded for paying attention. Time travel also allows parallel storytelling across timelines. Different versions of events can unfold simultaneously. One timeline might show hope, while another shows destruction. This contrast creates powerful emotional impact. You see what could have been and what is, and sometimes that difference is heartbreaking. Fantasy uses this to explore themes of regret deeply. Characters are forced to confront their past decisions. They see the consequences of paths not taken, and that realization can be overwhelming. It pushes them to grow or completely break. Another powerful element is the concept of time loops. Characters relive the same moments again and again. Each loop reveals new details and hidden truths. Slowly, they begin to understand what must change. But escaping the loop is never simple. It requires sacrifice, awareness, and sometimes painful acceptance. This structure keeps the audience constantly curious. What will be different this time? What did they miss before? Fantasy masters use these loops to build suspense. Each repetition adds tension instead of reducing it, because the stakes keep rising with every attempt, and failure becomes more costly each time. Time travel also introduces paradoxes that challenge logic. What happens if you prevent your own existence or change the event that led you here? These questions create intellectual intrigue for the audience. They force you to think beyond normal storytelling rules. Fantasy becomes a playground for philosophical exploration. It blends imagination with deep, thought-provoking ideas. And that combination keeps viewers mentally engaged. But even with all this complexity, something deeper emerges. Time travel is not really about changing events. It is about understanding the cost of those changes. And that realization begins to shift everything you believed. But what if time travel was never about control at all? What if it was designed to teach, not to change? This is where fantasy introduces its deepest twist. The illusion of control slowly begins to break. Characters realize they were never truly rewriting anything. They were only fulfilling what had already happened. The future they feared was always part of the past. Every attempt to escape only leads them closer. This creates a haunting and powerful realization. Fate and free will may not be separate forces. They might be working together in hidden ways. A character trying to prevent tragedy becomes its cause. The hero becomes part of the very problem. And that moment changes everything for them. They are forced to confront a painful truth. Not all things are meant to be fixed. Some moments exist to shape who we become. Fantasy uses this twist to deepen emotional impact. It transforms time travel into a mirror of life. You cannot escape your past completely, but you can learn from it and grow. This shift moves the story from action to meaning. It becomes less about events, more about understanding. The character stops fighting time and starts accepting it. And that acceptance becomes their true transformation. Suddenly, the power they wanted feels unnecessary because the lesson was always more important. Time travel reveals not just what happened, it reveals why it had to happen. That realization brings a quiet but powerful resolution. The audience feels it deeply without needing explanation. It resonates on a personal level instantly because everyone carries moments they wish to change. Everyone has regrets that still echo inside. Fantasy simply gives those feelings a visual form. But then it takes it one step further. It shows that changing everything is not the answer. Understanding everything might be the real solution. This is where the emotional payoff truly lands. The journey was never about rewriting history. It was about redefining how you see it. And that perspective changes everything moving forward. Characters become stronger, wiser, and more grounded. They stop chasing perfection and embrace imperfection. And that is where true growth begins. Fantasy stories use time travel to deliver this message, not through lectures, but through powerful storytelling experiences. You feel the lesson instead of just hearing it, and that makes it unforgettable and impactful. Time travel becomes a metaphor for human experience. The desire to fix, to undo, to escape, but also the need to accept and move forward. That balance is what makes these stories timeless. They speak to something deeply universal. No matter the setting, the emotion remains real, and that connection keeps audiences coming back because they see themselves within those stories. They recognize their own struggles and choices, and they find meaning within the chaos of time. So next time you see time travel in fantasy, do not just watch the events unfold. Look deeper into what it represents. Notice the lessons hidden beneath the magic. Ask yourself what you would do differently, but also ask what you would choose to accept. Because that is where the real power lies. Not in changing the past, but understanding it, and using that understanding to shape your future. That is the true role of time travel. Not just in fantasy, but in life itself. So if this perspective shifted something inside you, take a moment to reflect on your own story. What would you change if given the chance? And more importantly, what would you finally accept? Because your answer might change everything from this moment.